Welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Episode 329. We are in the midst of it right now. But before we get to that, I have a very special interview for you. Ask yourself this question. Why does he have so much aggressive energy right now? Did he record a 5-minute intro before and say that wasn't good enough? Yes, he did. Not even 30 seconds ago, I ended it. I said, that's not good. I restart. Oh, my gosh. Welcome back in. I've spoken to... Oh, I haven't even put out these other ones yet. Okay. Today, I have for you... Because I thought I put out the other ones, but I didn't. Today, I have for you the creator of an NBC broadcast television show. A high-concept one, they refer to it as. Is that something I said in the last... In the last intro I recorded? It is. I have to bring back all this stuff. It's still fresh in my mind. It's just like a lot of inside jokes between me and the ghosts in the apartment and the pets, obviously. J.J. Bailey, the creator of The Hunting Party. Now, if you haven't heard of this show, it's the procedural with a small team of investigators that are led by an ex-FBI profiler played by Melissa Roxborough. They come together. They're tracking down the most dangerous serial killers in the world. The show starts off with a bang. The place where they're keeping the serial killers just explodes, and it is insane. And I mentioned it. You'll see in every single interview I do with the people that are involved in the show. I love it. It just starts. That's what I need in TV shows and movies. Just give me something. Just go. Let's stop holding things. We don't have time for this. Anyway, it's a thriller of a TV show, and I'm not gonna just go and check it out. Anyway, J.J. Bailey is one of the showrunners. He also created the show. He's also the EP. You know he's getting paid. He has a degree in business, but he went into entertainment, started screenwriting. He sold a couple of pilots, and this is another project that he started with an overall deal under NBC Universal. Wow, look at him. He also has another project currently in development. Well, when I spoke to him, he was at NBC Universal in LA. I can only assume that's what I assume it's called NBC Universal. Like their offices and sound stages and all that jazz. But he had a bunch of Emmys. He had a bunch of Emmys. The office, the conference room in which he was doing the interviews had a bunch of Emmys. I pointed out and I was like, hey man, I've been around Emmys too. News Emmys. Let me rank Emmys for you. A primetime Emmy is a primetime Emmy. A news Emmy, it takes 5 news Emmys. This is mine. This is not for anybody else. It takes 5 news Emmys to equal 1 primetime Emmy. It takes 3 children and family Emmys to equal 1 primetime Emmy. It takes 2 daytime Emmys to equal 1 primetime. Who is this for? J.J. Bailey has assembled a great cast. Melissa Roxborough, as I mentioned before, Nick Weschler, Patrick Sabanqui, I don't know if that's how to pronounce it, Josh McKenzie, and Sarah Garcia. I've talked to 3 of those 5 names. You'll see those soon. If you want to check out The Hunting Party, I believe we are roughly 5 or 6 episodes in. 5 episodes, it might seem like. I don't know. I'm very bad at math. But it airs Mondays at 10 p.m. You can watch episodes on Peacock. Or I assume if cable providers still do this, you can watch video on demand. I know I watched. This is. I'll give you a little behind the scenes. In February, when I or in January, I guess. Yeah, in February. It doesn't matter. When I was offered the interviews with the cast and crew of this show, I went to the screeners for NBC Universal, and oftentimes this is not okay. Sometimes with some production companies, when we are either so far ahead of the premiere or so far behind, they put up in production screeners of episodes. And let me tell you, I watched an in production screener of the premiere, and then I watched two regular episodes of the show that were just like that were already done. It is so funny to see a half done episode where not even just the skeleton, but like the skeleton, the fat, and the muscle are there. They just need to put the skin on the body. Ugh. Is that how God just made people? Well, this would be like a really religious podcast. Anyway, that's what I watched in the pilot, and it was just so funny to see like actors looking at a green screen, and then being like pretending it's a computer, or being on this plane and pretending like being on the set of a plane, and it's like look outside the window, and it's just green. Um, I'll button up this topic in that when Broad City was still on, and Comedy Central was still doing screeners for the original shows that they were doing, and now they don't make shows anymore. But when they were still doing screeners, they used to just like put up the entire season of Broad City before it premiered, so it'd be up for like a month, before it premiered. And at the time, I would just go, I want to watch every single episode. So I'd watch every single episode. And then again, those would be half done episodes, just like green screen on Broad City. Or like they have like alt takes and they're way longer. And the episodes are way longer. I think about that so much. It's so funny just to see like episodes of Broad City that no one else got to see. Anyway, let's get back to it. I'm sorry. JJ Bailey. That'll be coming up next. As I mentioned before, The Hunting Party airs on NBC's on NBC. It airs on most NBCs. Monday at 10 p.m. Mondays at 10 p.m. Check it out. We're still in the middle of the season. It's fun, and they have more episodes to come. The cast is good. I like them a lot. All right, enjoy this interview with JJ Bailey. Hey,
Oh yeah,
JJ, how you doing?
I'm great, man. Great. Good to meet you. Is that a tiger behind you there?
It is a tiger. It's a I bought it at an antique shop one day here in Atlanta, and I don't know the author. The author's obviously down here, but it's great. It's a cool tiger. I love it. It makes me feel like I'm one of the coolest people in the world. I mean, the
Great.
first thing I noticed behind you is there's a litany of awards. Look at that.
Yeah.
Three Emmys just hanging out. That's ridiculous.
No, yeah, they've got me in an NBC conference room today, and they were angling it to get those in the background, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, that's very funny. When I used to work at an NBC news affiliate here, and like the first day I walked in there, they had like five Emmys just hanging out, and I went, I mean, they're news Emmys, but still, I was like,
Hey,
that's pretty cool.
Emmy's an Emmy, man. That's great.
So how's it going? The show's been on for what? Like I've seen three episodes, but the show's been on for a couple of weeks, and it's amazing. I think it's. I spoke with Sarah last week. I think
Oh,
it's such a very fun and interesting show because one because of the storyline, but also in the pilot episode it just starts. Things just happen, and that's what I really appreciate about the series.
oh, thank you. Yeah, it's been a blast, and it's been really great to see people enjoying the show. You work on this thing for a long time. You don't know how it's going to be received. You don't know, and there's one of the most amazing things about making TV is how many people contribute to the final product
Yeah.
and how many people come together. And we were lucky enough to work with some really incredible people who poured a lot of themselves into this, and to see, you know, people really enjoying the show means a lot. It's
Yeah.
been really, really fun.
And you've also got the cast is just stacked,
Yeah.
especially if you watch a lot of TV, then you know a lot of the people. Some of them have been on The Flash. A couple of them were on Manifest. I mean, it's just astounding the talent that you're able to get for a show that is just set. It's set in reality, but kind of not, and it's just easy to really intake. And I really do appreciate that.
No, great. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, we're incredibly lucky to get the cast we've got, and the one of the most amazing things, and one of the things I'm probably most proud of, despite the fact it's got nothing to really do with me, is just the chemistry of the cast on and off camera. I mean, they legitimately love each other. They legitimately enjoy being around each other. We'll wrap an episode at midnight or 1 in the morning, and then they're like, "All right, are we going to get something to eat?" And they'll all go to some burger place to get food after being together all day for this 14-hour day on set. And
Wow.
I mean, they would get together on Sundays to do like table reads on their own, and
Mm.
it was go hiking together, and like it was as a showrunner, there's a side of me that feels almost like a parent watching my kids play, and they're
Yeah,
getting along and they're having fun and it's amazing, and that's been a really enjoyable part of this whole process.
I think the chemistry is so important because especially when you have somebody like Sarah's character who never gets to really hang out with the crew when they're in the field. And I asked her like how she deals with, being with so far away and just basically talking over the phone, talking over the comms. And yeah, I do see that the camaraderie really works and really comes across. I'm wondering, how did you approach making the show initially? How did you, because it is so fantastical, even though it is still grounded in reality, it's still so fantastical, and it feels mostly like a comic book storyline, with all these supervillains escaping and really doing their own dirty deeds out in the world.
Yeah, I mean, that's you hit it right on the head. I mean, it does have a little bit of that comic book type feel to it. We Jake Coburn and I, that my co-showrunner, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, we really wanted to do something that felt like it lived in the familiar space of a procedural, but was a little bit different. But we wanted sort of to use a sort of cliche word, elevated into something a little bit bigger than the normal genre. And we both love conspiracy thrillers, and we were like, how can we really mesh those two things? And it really started from there. And then we we're like, well, you know what? If we want to go after these crazy serial killers, and they're going to be sort of pushed and larger than life, like why don't we why don't we make them come from a larger than life place where larger than life things were happening? And so that's what gave birth to the idea of the pit.
And one my final thing here is I it's a network show, and after the blacklist is over, you're really kind of taking that show's spot, and you have to step up. And you know what? I think it did, because that show, what it for 10 years, it had a really good cast and a really good lead that had this dark storyline, and now you're kind of coming in and taking the reins of that. And I think it's lived up to what the hype should be for this type of show. And I hope that there's more story to tell.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me, Chad. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, mostly because we only have like a couple of seconds left. But this has been wonderful, and I do appreciate it. Good luck with this show. The Hunting Party is wonderful, fantastic, and I hope we get to see more of this cast and more of you guys working on it.
Thank you so much, man. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
all right. I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. And we're back. Welcome back in. How was it? How was the interview with young JJ? If you listen to the audio, if you watch the video, that wasn't there. You have to go watch the interview itself. Speaking of which, I need to do. I'm 20 no 12 episodes of all the podcasts combined. I'm 12 episodes behind on editing, so I need to edit. Well, now it'll be 14. because of this show and Late Night Lately. So now I'm 14. I have to edit 14 videos. And by edit, I mean just put the audios and the videos together, and then also cut some things out. I go on long rants. Let me tell you about I couldn't think of something funny enough. What's been going on? Let's see. I finished Running Point on Netflix. You know, a lot of times I watch a Mindy Kaling show and I go, well, this is Mindy Kaling. This one, Running Point, felt, because she made Running Point along with another woman who left the show in the middle of production or before it even started, and Ike Barinholtz came on as producer at some point. But anyway, it's a very funny show, and at times there are points where I go, oh, this is a little dramatic, and not like in a way like it's being soapy, but there's moments, especially at the end of the season, where you go, wow, this is real. Jeannie Buss, I guess, obviously the show is like just slightly based on her life. But Jeannie Buss is the owner of the Lakers. And if she had any input on what happens to Kate Hudson's character or just like stories, then those stories are insane. Chet Hanks is on the show as well, and Jay Ellis, Drew Tarver, just a lot of great funny people. Brenda Song, beautiful. A lot of great funny people. I enjoyed the show. a lot. What else has been going on? I've been playing Avowed on Xbox. Is that what it's called? I pick it up every now and then. It is an RPG made by Obsidian Entertainment. It is Skyrim Light, is how I've been putting it to myself. They also did The Outer Worlds, which I assume they'll be doing a second one at some point. Oh, it's set in the same world as Pillars of Eternity, a game I've never played, but I've always seen. I have no interest in playing. I believe it's on NVIDIA's game streaming platform as well. And I also think I might own it on PC somewhere, because I have hundreds of games there and I just don't know. Anyway, Avowed is a very interesting RPG. There's a lot of bears you fight. You like mix magic with sword play. There's also guns. Unfortunately, the way I am playing it is I am playing it on the Xbox, but also I'm trying to earn rewards points on for Microsoft. So I'm playing it on I'm streaming it on NVIDIA's game streaming platform. I'm streaming it from the Xbox to the Steam Deck. Sometimes on my phone, just for 15 minutes so I can get those points. It's very pretty. It's a very pretty game, and I'm liking it. And then also there Mario Days next week. He's playing some Pokemon. They talked about Pokemon. Well, I'm trying not to watch videos or even read theories about Pokemon ZA. All right, we got a lot to talk about. So speaking of games, let's get into this. This comes from GameSpot, written by Evan Campbell. GTA 6 costing $100 could reward players too, analysts argue. This is a quote from Wedbush Securities with Michael Pachter, who believes bundling the new game with GTA Online currency can push the price into new territory. There's been arguments made that video games need to be increased in price, not only to offset the hours spent making it and the crunch that comes with it, but also because these gaming companies want more money. But games are already $70, and then special editions could go anywhere from $80 to hundreds of dollars. We've seen in my lifetime, video games have in the 90s they were nothing. They were great side scrolling things, but then they become this. But in the past 20 years, we've seen games go from, or 20 or 25 years. How old am I? Yeah, probably 20 years. 25, let's say 25 years. In the past 25 years, we've seen games on cartridges be $100. Go from that to being 40 or 50, and then to going up to 60, and now we're at 70. And GTA 6 is going to be, good or not, a ground online or not, probably mostly online, but it's going to be a groundbreaking game that can truly change the way the industry moves forward. If it released only on Xbox, it would sell Xboxes. If it released only on PC, you better believe people would figure out a way to play it on PC. If they raise the price to $100, people will mumble and grumble, but damn it, they will find a way to pay that $100 to play that game. Michael Pachter, who is a well-known analyst, he's been talking about video games for years, along with Wedbush Securities, they made the prediction saying that Take-Two will sell GTA 6 at, quote, a previously unheard of price point. The game company, quote, can offer consumers an incentive to pay $100 or more per unit by rewarding them with a large amount of in-game currency to be spent in GTA Online, write Pachter, Alicia Reese, and Cade Barr. There's a rumor also that they're going to split up, that Take-Two will split up GTA, the storyline, GTA 6, and GTA Online, and just sell them separately, similar to how they've recently done revamped versions of Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5 for these more modern consoles. They've split up that you can just buy the storyline separate. A lot of people play GTA Online, and a lot of people played, I don't know if they still do, Red Dead Redemption 2 Online. But for what it's worth, GTA started out as a single-player game series. It took them a lot of iterations of GTA Online to turn it into the powerhouse that it is today. I think a lot of people will play GTA it'll end up in the same way that Call of Duty has ended up, in that people will just skip over the story entirely. And the only reason I say that is because people do not play story in Call of Duty. And the only reason I say that is because, A, look at the numbers, but B, on Xbox, I played Call of Duty 6, and it took me, roughly 2 months after it came out to actually sit down and beat it. But also it was a good story. I was just taking my time. But looking at the achievements where, on Avowed, people have already beaten that, and all the achievements that were marked as rare have now become common. But on GTA, just even beating a single mission will get you a rare achievement, which is wild to me. Last month, Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick suggested GTA Online could continue with GTA 6's release, but theoretically alluded to it as a legacy title. Meanwhile, GTA 5 just received an enhanced upgraded version on PC earlier this month. Wow, they did not look over that sentence at all. It says, meanwhile, GTA 5 just received an enhanced upgraded on PC earlier this month with the old version subtitled Legacy. The Wedbush analysts, I'm gelling with them because I haven't even read this article, but we're all going in the same direction. They point out how Call of Duty Warzone and mobile have helped lead a, quote, 40% increase in sales of Call of Duty Premium, though Activision and Microsoft haven't confirmed those figures. In the same way, that's how GTA 6 could jump to $100. But I think Warzone and Call of Duty 6 multiplayer is different from each other, rather. Excuse me, because I was going to compare them to Modern Warfare and whatever. But you can't do zombies on Warzone. You have to buy 6 for zombies. But since Warzone is free and Call of Duty has its own app that you have to download if you want to play anything Call of Duty. It's ridiculous. I gotta download the Call of Duty app, which is 100 or so gigabytes itself. Then GTA 6, then the Call of Duty 6, which is 100 or so gigabytes itself. That's wild. On an Xbox, it only has like 512 gigabytes. We'll see what happens. GTA 6 is on track for fall 2025. We still don't have any information besides the trailer. They could push it back, but who cares? Who knows? The same thing with Switch 2. It could be pushed back. This next one comes from The Hollywood Reporter, written by Pamela McClintock. AMC Theaters wants to turn back the clock. Moviegoing has slowed down, and now AMC, the chain, is asking for a 45-day theatrical window. Pre-pandemic, the theatrical window was 90 to 120 days between theatrical release and home release, whether that be digital, DVD, or streaming. Pandemic happens, that the release window has to shorten for a little bit. Sometimes movies at that time skipped theaters entirely. Others, if they were released during the pandemic, they'd get like 2 weeks, 30 days, whatever, before they're released on whatever streaming platform. But now, since people are just now waiting at home to see movies, AMC and other distributors are like, all right, can we get it back? We just want to get it back to where it used to be. Several days before the Oscars, AMC Entertainment's Adam Aron, who's the CEO, told investors during a February 25th earnings call that the relaxation of theatrical windows needs to be revisited in the post-COVID era as attendance levels remain notably off-kilter. What Aron didn't mention was that it was actually AMC that first struck a landmark deal with Universal in summer of 2020, collapsing the windows to 17 days for a movie opening to $50 million or less, and 31 days for a title opening to more. After the windows, what typically happens is a movie. So let's take Wicked. Wicked premieres in November, December. It stays in theaters for as long as possible. They're juicing us, money from us, viewers. People go see it. It leaves theaters late February, and it's available, in the midst of it being still available in theaters, people can in January or February watch it at home, digital release for $30, I think, $20 or $30. I think that's the price. I think it might be $30. And then eventually, in a couple weeks from that, you buy it at home for $20 to $25 digitally. And then the DVD and Blu-ray comes out like a week or two after that. And now, March 12th, I believe, Wicked will be available on Peacock. But that's because that was a big, high-grossing movie, and it's the same thing happened for Moana. The same thing's going to happen for Mission Impossible 7. But when you have smaller movies like Longlegs, how long did it take Longlegs to get? Because I watched it here at home, but how long was that in theaters? It wasn't in theaters very long. Maybe, I don't know. Or One of Them Days, a movie I've yet to see. I'm still trying to see that movie. But even though it's still in theaters at my local AMC, and next week it's still going to be playing, I can rent it here at home, but it's only been out for a month and a half, I believe. I looked at the calendar as if it was going to tell me. Sources tell The Hollywood Reporter that that Aron has met with at least 3 of the 5 major studios, but many aren't eager to return to those past practices. Aron, who intends to continue these meetings, isn't convinced. Quote, he's saying, These conversations are live right now between studios and theaters, since he believes both would generate more money if there were at least a 45-day window. Cinemark hasn't made any pronouncements regarding whether windows will be longer. Cinemark is smaller than AMC, but CEO Sean Gamble did suggest at a March 4th Morgan Stanley conference that shortened windows could be creating confusion. I mean, and it makes sense. Whenever I see a movie on a streaming platform, I go, wait, why is that here right now? I'm trying to open up a streaming site before I do anything, before I say something stupid. But if Smile 2 landed on Paramount Plus 3 weeks after it was in theaters, that would make me go, well, that's a tentpole movie for them because it's part of a franchise. Maybe I can just wait to see that instead of having to watch in theaters, or maybe even when Smile 3 comes out, if that's a thing, then maybe I don't have to see that now. Same thing for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. It's a movie I saw on Christmas Eve, right? Was it Christmas Eve? I think it was Christmas Eve. No. Yes, it was. Oh my goodness. What's wrong with me? But Sonic 3, if that comes out too soon, then that's not going to be $1 billion franchise anymore. So they have to find a way in order to get people into theaters, make these things more like events. At my local Landmark Theater, they have live British shows. They have Dave Tennant doing a live play, and it's a 2 or 3 day event. I know I've mentioned this before. I saw Fleabag there when I still cared about what Fleabag was. I have my problems with Phoebe. She doesn't hire any people of color. She doesn't work with any people of color. But now I'm on Amazon Prime, and I see, Heart Eyes is an in theaters at home movie, even though that came out around Valentine's Day. And even though it's in theaters and I can go to my local AMC and see it tonight at 7, the only reason I know that is because I was on Adam Tickets trying to see if I could go see a movie today. But even though I can go see it tonight at 7, it doesn't. I can just go, well, wait a minute. It's in theaters at home. Instead of spending $20 at a theater, I can just spend $20 here, watch it here, have my own snacks, and the comfort of my own home. So they have to give people incentives to go to theaters. And unfortunately, I think that is with bringing in heavy foods and heavy drinks and adult drinks rather. But there's still people like me who want to go to the theater and enjoy it. Speaking of movies, what happened between Amazon, James Bond, and the Broccoli's? This comes from Benjamin Svetsky over at The Hollywood Reporter. License to shill inside Amazon's 007 takeover. Last week we talked about, or the week before, I don't remember. That's all blended together. The Amazon taking over the 007 franchise after it purchased it a couple of years ago from MGM. They purchased MGM rather, and they became the official distributors of the 007 franchise. But the producers, the original family of the franchise, Barbara Broccoli and her half-brother Michael G. Wilson, were still owners up until a couple of weeks ago. It's fascinating, this story, because it all boils down to what Barbara Broccoli said about the execs at Amazon. Her words, not mine, were, hold on, I'm trying to find the exact quote. What did Barbara say? Anyway, she said the executives were stupid, more or less. That's what she said. So the Broccoli's have had a tight hold on the Bond franchise, be it, releasing what stories are next or who's going to be Bond or who can direct. Steven Spielberg wanted to direct a Bond, but they would never let him. Other people wanted to direct Bonds, but they would never let them. Cubby Broccoli was the one who was the patriarch of the Bond movie franchise. Now Barbara Broccoli is 64 years old. She let go of it after Amazon bought them out. It's not something that they wanted to do. Amazon, Jeff Bezos, heard what she said about the execs. I have to find this quote. I can't just be like, oh, okay. She called them, quote, fucking idiots. The Wall Street Journal published a piece detailing, in December, the chilly state of affairs between Amazon and the Broccoli's, in which Barbara is quoted as telling friends that Amazon executives were, quote, fucking idiots. Not surprisingly, those choice words did not go over well with Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. He read her quote in the Journal and got on the phone and said, I don't care what it costs, get rid of her. That's how one of the insiders discussed what happened, confirming that what Bezos ended up paying for the franchise was close to $1 billion. Imagine being so thin-skinned that you would pay $700, $800, $900 million in order to not work with somebody. Amazon has plans for just reaping the IP that is James Bond. And it's not to say James Bond was not a franchise that did not have its own reapedness. There have been any number of books. There have been comic books. There have been television series like the television adaptation of Casino Royale. There have been video games, including what is this one? James Bond 007 role-playing in Her Majesty's Secret Service. But also, on top of that, there have been countless video games, including 007 Legends, Quantum of Solace, GoldenEye 007 Reloaded, Bloodstone, The World Is Not Enough for the Game Boy Color, The World Is Not Enough for PlayStation, The World Is Not Enough for N64, Tomorrow Never Dies. There have been so many games. So many games. There's been radio dramas. And about 12 people have played James Bond. Now, when you look at Amazon's track record for their recent IP, they've got the Lord of the Rings series, Ring of Power. They've got Citadel, which is something that they made one season of, and then even though it had middling reviews, which I don't pay attention to reviews, but even though it had middling reviews, they said, we gotta make more. And they did. They made more Citadel. Not only that, they made international versions of Citadel that all tie in to the English version of Citadel. People aren't happy with this acquisition. They want to bring in somebody. Assuming what they've done with the Rings of Power and what they've done with Citadel, they're probably going to bring in somebody who's a lot younger. The rumor was for James Bond. Rumor was a couple of months ago, Aaron Taylor Johnson. That's a big no. They should get people. The reason why people like Sean Connery and Daniel Craig and Pierce Brosnan work is because at some point they have a way of establishing themselves as a viable James Bond. When you look at Daniel Craig as an actor, which is the douchiest thing I've said today, believe it or not, he's done things that prior to Casino Royale made him stand above the rest. He was in Munich. He was in Layer Cake. Was something I was about to say. But Layer Cake, yeah, that is one of the movies that is memorable from before his Casino Royale moment. Casting somebody like Aaron Taylor Johnson would just make this another poppy thing, and that's not what you want. You want somebody who can last 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 movies. Don't put them through that. And and be suave and strong and confident, things like that. And I'm not saying Aaron Taylor Johnson can't do that, but once you've touched a Marvel movie, you shouldn't be able once you've touched 2 Marvel movies, you should not be able to do this. Christopher Nolan wanted to direct. Imagine if he could have directed a James Bond movie after Tenet. I would rather watch my least favorite Christopher Nolan movie than watch anything else from anybody I don't know. But the Broccoli's didn't want that. They didn't want Christopher Nolan. But now Bezos could be like, hey, Chris, you want to do this? But you have to follow what we say. Would spinoffs work? Maybe. We could have spinoffs for any character. The Hollywood Reporter writer here says Moneypenny, but and they compare it to the Penguin on Max. But also, we don't need that. We don't need to see multiple. I just saw a Gene Hackman thing pop up on the phone. Oh my goodness. We find out why he died. He and his wife died. Anyway, we don't need any of that. We just don't need any of that. Okay. This I linked to to an essay on Wall Street Journal written by Bradley Hope called "Can James Bond Be Licensed to Thrill Again?" And what Hope writes in this is that, taking into consideration the genre of spy movie as a whole, there needs to be some sort of reinvention of sorts. I remember when Daniel Craig took over for James Bond, he said something in an interview. This is not when he took over, but something around that time. He said that James Bond can't be funny because Austin Powers, that's a spy series, and they did jokes, so they couldn't do, James Bond couldn't do jokes. The Hope is comparing James Bond to movies like the movie Sneakers, starring River Phoenix and Dan Aykroyd and Sidney Poitier and Robert Redford, as well as other spy-like flicks like Mission Impossible. But the thing is, James Bond is on a different level compared to that. Same thing with Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is a completely different adventure series compared to other series of the same ilk, like Jumanji, The Next Level. Those are 2 completely different movies. And just because they're in the same genre doesn't mean they're the same thing. Step Brothers is a comedy. I couldn't think of another comedy. I couldn't think of another comedy that wasn't Will Ferrell led. Let me go to my movies. Step Brothers is a comedy. 21 Jump Street is also a comedy. But they're 2 different things. 21 Jump Street is more of an action flick, action mystery with comedy. Action mystery comedy. Atomic Blonde is a spy movie, espionage. Avengers Endgame is a superhero movie, but so is The Batman. But they scratch 2 different itches. So I could go on all day. I won't be doing that though. There's too many digital movies on my Movies Anywhere account. I will agree though that there are elements of James Bond that can be modernized, but that's a different thing from reinvention, because at some point you don't have to do that. If I look at Uncharted, if I look at the Uncharted video game series, there's 5 games, including the PS Vita game. One I own, but I'll never play. It's on a Vita I hacked. Whatever, who cares? Make more Vita games, or put the game out on PlayStation 5. I'll play it. I'll buy it. Just put it out. Put it out so I can legally own it. Uncharted 1, Uncharted 2. Yes, it became a bigger game. Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3, it became bigger and more polished. Uncharted 3, Uncharted 4, gigantic. One open world ish on at like 1 or 2 points, but it ultimately still boils down to the same thing. And reinvention would be just changing everything. That'd be like going like, we're gonna make an SNL, but instead of it live, it's gonna be recorded, and we get to have as many takes as we want, and it can be special effects, and also we're calling it Mad TV. You know? Okay. This is going to be the last thing. Because this is a little long of an episode. I did have to just move something down. This comes from Lacey Rose over at the Hollywood Reporter. Harry Potter, Big Little Lies, and What Not to Pitch Now, HBO's programming team tells all. There are 6 women in charge of the programming team, and they all report to Casey Bloys, who is a man at Warner Brothers Discovery. And it seems like it's something unheard of. I believe Disney for a time also had a very high rate of female top execs. This includes Amy Gravitt, Francesca Orsi, Lisa Heller, Nancy Abraham, Sarah Aubrey, and Nina Rosenstein. This is a very interesting interview where they talk about what shows they are being pitched and what shows they like, and a little bit of behind the scenes of how they work. There's if you're wondering if there are too many miniseries, they also say, yeah, there's too many miniseries. Too many people are just coming in and pitching miniseries. And what's worse is that they're all derivative of more successful shows, or they're all for comedy, they're all pitching kind of Barry-like shows, a lot of murder stuff. The entire time I'm reading that, or like they're all getting Succession type shows. The entire time I was reading this, I was like, I will pitch you something different. I'm not kidding. I'm sitting here like, I've got 40 ideas. I got Google Doc. Come on, let's go. I just thought this roundtable was very interesting because of what they kind of revealed. These are things that, if I was still working at Warner Brothers, I would hear. You're like, whoa, look at these people. They compare what HBO can do, what HBO can offer, and what others cannot. I'm sorry, I just thought about something. If you're watching the video, I'm wearing a sweatshirt, a very thin Nike sweatshirt. But I'm not wearing a shirt under it because it's so thin. It's just a long sleeve. I just want to put something on. Anyway, I took Maverick for a walk, and we were walking today, and we walked by an apartment complex. And I mentioned before, it's like 60. It's the late 60s degrees. It's like 67, 68 right now. But at the time, it was roughly like 59 or 60 degrees. And we were walking, and we walked by an unopened pool in an apartment complex, and this just popped back in my head. Somebody was sunbathing. Again, 60 degrees. It's not even hot. I'm still wearing a long sleeve outside, a long sleeve sweater, and somebody was just sunbathing, and I went, kind of chilly for that. Anyway. There's also something I also wanted to point out. They're casting for Harry Potter, and right now they're looking for people who are going to go the extra mile of being there for 10 years because there's 7 books, and they have to think about casting these children in the right way. And I guess that makes sense. I guess that makes sense. That does make sense in what they're doing. They also reveal some people that they've been trying to get to do TV shows for a decade, including Martin McDonagh. They don't hear that people aren't interested in TV shows like A-listers a lot, with the exception of a few people. And then there's also this big pressure that Warner Brothers is putting on IP. So they also have to find something new to do with IP. Again, you should read this interview. It's really the one interview. It's really good. And let's see. They also mentioned, I talk about this on Late Night Lately, I think like 2 weeks ago, that posting John Oliver's Last Week Tonight segments the next day were better instead of holding them for a week or for a few days. And they also get a lot of actors asking if there's a role on The White Lotus or Euphoria for them, which is so stupid. And every single one of these women loves Nathan Fielder's The Rehearsal, which is amazing. Everybody loves The Rehearsal. The Rehearsal is fantastic. Anyway, I thought that was a very fun interview, very interesting and very enlightening. I think everybody should check it out. Speaking of things you should check out this the website cpluscomedy.com, where I talk to famous people all the time. Like I just said, I just spoke to JJ Bailey. He's a fantastic guy. And you'll hear me talk to some of the cast members next week. I guess the next posting. Yeah, because I think it'll be one thing. We'll see what happens. I don't know. If you want to see a video version of this show as well as the other shows, LinkedIn Logs, which is the Jobs podcast, and Late Night Lately, the Late Night Show, as well as the interviews, go to youtube.com/C+comedy. We can see everything video versions I've done. You can follow us on social media, or subscribe to those shows where you get your podcast. So follow us on social media at C+comedy. Me at Chad Black White, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. With those names. Okay, I forgot how to end the show, so we're going to go bye now. Bye.